Dengeki Bunko Fighting Climax is a 2D, 3-button anime crossover fighting game developed by the companies that made Melty Blood and published by SEGA, a company best known for their world-famous energy drinks. It was released exclusively on the PS3 and PSVita, making it damn near impossible to record gameplay footage, and it is one of the weirdest fighting games I have ever played. The majority of the game's weirdness, and the main reason anybody actually cares about it, comes from its character roster, which isn't exactly surprising given that we're talking about a crossover fighting game. But it really does feel like a lot of these characters have no business being here. Now, I don't really watch a ton of anime because, well, my parents love me, but based on what I gathered from my limited prior knowledge and also Wikipedia, this game's roster of playable characters seems to include an elementary school basketball player, a gang member, some soldiers, a surprising amount of gamer girls, and a character that my girlfriend said would make me a walking red flag if I recognized her. If anyone would like to explain why she said that, the comment section is right there. Granted, this roster does get a lot less weird when you learn that with the exception of Sega's guest characters, Akira from Virtua Fighter and Silveria Bless from Valkyria Chronicles, all of these characters come from series owned and distributed by the same publishing company. Would anyone like to guess what that company is called? So it does kind of make sense that they'd all end up in a game together eventually. Wouldn't be the first or the last time something like this happened. This isn't even the only Dengeki Bunko crossover fighting game. But that doesn't change the fact that this weird-ass roster gifted us with some truly incredible moments, like world-renowned martial arts master Akira Yuki getting beaten up by an elementary schooler, or Kirito Sword Art Online facing off against Taiga from Toradora in a matchup that could be best described as the epitome of, in the real world, you might kick my ass and give me swirlies, but in the gamer world, I'm cool and popular! But what's really weird about Fighting Climax is the fact that it has actual appeal beyond the simple novelty of its character roster. The game as a whole is really solid. I mean, it isn't exactly the godfather of fighting games, not that anyone was expecting it to be, but it is a lot of fun and surprisingly well made, which should probably be expected from a game made by the people who also made Melty Blood, but I guess I'm just not used to anime crossover fighting games being good. Ugh, whatever. Cat. But the game as a whole really is a lot of fun. All of the characters are well designed and really fun to play, and the ones I actually recognize have movesets that feel like they were pulled right out of their shows. The combo strings flow naturally and often lead to these insane aerial combos where you carry your opponent across the stage before locking them in a corner and absolutely crushing their spirit. Every match feels like an intense game of cat and mouse where you try to control as much stage as possible while waiting for your opponent to give you an opportunity to just absolutely go to town. I love the way this game's meter system works. There's this really sick counter mechanic that I didn't know about until I started working on the video, and the game's incredibly unique blast attack mechanic creates this insane 3-pronged resource management system that diversifies the options at each player's disposal and adds a much needed level of complexity to what can otherwise be a very simple game. Dengeki Bunko Fighting Climax is a game that is really easy to pick up, but very hard to master, and truly, that is the mark of any good fighting game. But like I said before, this is still a relatively simple game, especially when compared to the rest of the genre. It doesn't have the same laundry list of special moves that other games do, the characters don't fit into many of the niches or archetypes developers use to diversify the genre's gameplay. Although the movement is fast and fluid, it really isn't anything special. Rounds are often decided by the first hit, and even with mechanics like blast attacks, support characters, and trump cards, it's hard to shake the feeling that Fighting Climax just doesn't maintain the level of complexity that has become synonymous with the rest of the fighting game genre. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. In a genre where it can feel like every franchise has entered a complexity arms race, a little bit of simplicity can set a game apart from the competition and allow for a layer of accessibility not present in the more complicated games. I mean, it worked for Dive Kick. Granted, Fighting Climax has kind of been forgotten by the majority of the fighting game community, so maybe I'm just completely wrong, but there is a reason why I keep finding myself playing this game in between rounds of Guilty Gear. The game is a lot of fun, and it really does feel really good to play a couple rounds of a simpler fighting game here and there. And clearly, I'm not the only person who thinks this game is worth our time and attention. Fighting Climax has managed to develop an active and loyal fanbase despite being almost a decade old, having a definitive version that was exclusively released in Japan, being trapped on 2 systems that no one really uses anymore, one of which no one ever really used, and having a target audience that should probably be on a watch list. I mean, the game isn't exactly gonna make it to main stage at EVO or anything, but it was technically at EVO this year, and also at Combo Breaker for some reason. And people kind of paid attention to it. And I think that's awesome! Because the people that actually put in the time and effort to care about this weird little game are absolutely crazy and have pushed it way past what I ever thought possible. I mean, seriously, just watch these people play. It is insane. But beyond that, there's a story mode that I don't really know anything about because my copy is in Japanese. I can't really read Japanese. Does anybody know what this says? One of the playable stages is Green Hill Zone, which is really funny. The super animations are ridiculous, and that's always a plus. And most importantly, the game features Makoto Musiga and Kuroko Shirai from a certain scientific railgun, and that's awesome. I love this mid-ass show and these mid-ass characters, and their in-show powers and movesets are perfect for fighting games. I'm just so happy that they're here, especially since their inclusion is the sole reason I bought this game. Well, that and the fact that it just looked so fucking ridiculous. All in all, I really like this game. It's far from perfect, and I can totally see why it never took off. It's because of the anime. But I really think that this thing is a lot of fun and just absolutely hilarious. Like, why did they make a game where you could make a dead gamer girl fight an elementary school basketball player? And more importantly, why did they make the game good? 7 out of 10 gameplay, 10 out of 10 everything else. I just love this stupid game.
Enjoy this while you can. It's the deepest you'll ever be in a woman.
Well, there it is. That is the first upload of Sega September, a month where I upload a new Sega-themed video every Saturday and stream a bunch of Sega-related games, assuming that I stream anything at all. Why am I doing this? I don't really know. I thought it would be funny, I guess. But I hope you'll all join me for the ride. I mean, the subscribe button is right there if you enjoyed the video, and so is the like button and the comment section, and also the share button. New challenge, share this video with 1 million people and tell them all to subscribe. Every person who doesn't subscribe has to tell a different 1 million people. Thanks for watching!